What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I'd like to give you guys some Atlanta Falcons news. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content or NFL content. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So today in Atlanta Falcons news, the Atlanta Falcons have signed outside linebacker Leonard Floyd to a one-year deal. This deal is worth $10 million. And the Falcons have also re-signed Mike Hughes, cornerback. And this deal is a 3-year deal, $18 million. So first off with Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd is a veteran that has been in the NFL since 2016. He's 6'3", 240 pounds, very rangy, long arms, athletic. And I love this move for our Atlanta Falcons, getting a guy that's really athletic on the outside, at that outside linebacker position. Last year with the San Francisco 49ers, he had a really productive year with 8.5 sacks. But in his career, he has about 66.5 sacks in Leonard Floyd. He did play his college ball at the University of Georgia. And just looking at the two pickups today with Leonard Floyd and Divine Diablo, both of these guys are fast athletes. Both of these guys are extremely athletic. And we see what Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot are trying to do on this defense. They're trying to get faster. They're trying to get more athletic on this defense, which I think is very smart by both Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich that's going to be running the defense. But Leonard Floyd is one of those guys that I definitely think can get you anywhere between 8 and 10 sacks in a season. And you guys know that I'm huge on having multiple guys that can get after the passer. And we know that our Falcons have been lackluster at getting after the passer. That's been our Achilles heel. So now you add Leonard Floyd, someone who we didn't have last year on this team, as far as we didn't have enough athletic linebackers, outside linebackers that could rush the passer. So I definitely like this move by our Atlanta Falcons. He's one of those guys that uses his hands very well. Is a guy who uses his speed. Doesn't use a ton of power when he's rushing. He can use power, but he's mainly a speed rusher. The 49ers used Leonard Floyd last year in a lot of stunts and things of that nature to get him free for sacks. And he was playing alongside guys like Bosa, guys like Jamar Hargraves or Javon Hargraves on the inside of that Niners defense. We know that the Niners always have a pretty good front seven. So he was playing with a lot of talent over there with the San Francisco 49ers. He also played with Aaron Donald with the Rams. So he's played on some really good defenses in Leonard Floyd. But I definitely think he'll bring something different to the table that we were missing last year with our Falcons. Last year we had guys like Lorenzo Carter, who really didn't give us much off the edge. And I definitely think that this is an immediate upgrade when you bring in a Leonard Floyd, a guy, like I said, that can rush the passer, a guy on 3rd and long situations where he can definitely use his athleticism, that closing speed that I talked about with Diablo. He's another guy that has really good closing speed when he closes on the quarterback in space with these running quarterbacks. So I definitely like this move of bringing in some pass rush help. I still would look in the draft to try to bring in another pass rusher or possibly even bring back Matthew Judon. I believe that's still on the table as well. But if we don't bring back Matthew Judon, just bringing in Leonard Floyd, that tells me that they're trying to get a little bit more athletic. Leonard Floyd is a guy that can drop into coverage. He can play a little bit of off-ball linebacker at times as well. But his strengths is rushing the passer. He is a guy that can drop into the flats at times, as far as when they're trying to throw those swing passes and bubble screens. But he's one of those guys that gets hustle plays. He chased down a lot of running backs in the backfield last year with the 49ers. He had 8 tackles for loss as well. So he's a guy that's, a veteran, a guy that I definitely think will bring something different to this Atlanta Falcons defense and give us one of those guys that opposing offenses will have to worry about. Now, at the cornerback position, we was able to bring back Mike Hughes on a 3-year deal with $18 million. And he's one of those guys last year that played really well opposite of A.J. Terrell. I was really impressed with the way that Mike Hughes covered, especially in man-to-man situations down the field. And I was very impressed with the way that Mike Hughes was able to tackle an open field. And you know that I'm huge on having corners that can tackle, because nowadays, in the way that offenses like to spread teams out, as far as spread defenses out and things of that nature, and throw the ball all over the yard, throw bubble screens and things of that nature, you have to have corners and guys that can tackle in space. And that's something that Mike Hughes did really well with last year. Mike Hughes is one of those guys that also can play special teams. He's returned kicks, he's returned punts. In his past, he is a he is a past first round pick when he was drafted by Minnesota years ago. And he is one of those guys that's familiar with Jerry Gray. He was one of those guys that when he was drafted in Minnesota, Jerry Gray was on that coaching staff and kind of helped develop Mike Hughes. He dealt with some injuries early on in his career, but he was able to turn things around coming out of USF. University of Central Florida. So I definitely think that Mike Hughes is one of those guys that filled that number 2 role pretty well last year. I really feel like majority of the problems we've seen last year out of our secondary, especially, is them playing a lot of off coverage, not allowing those guys to, play press man and jam up and slow down some of these wide receivers and throw off the rhythm and the timing of those passes. But I think this year, if we're able to muster up more pass rush, and if we allow these guys to be more aggressive on the defensive side of the ball under Jeff Ulbrich, I think we'll get the best out of the secondary and guys like Mike Hughes. But Mike Hughes didn't give up a ton of big plays last year. Teams normally would pick on our second cornerback since AJ Terrell's been our number 1 guy. But last year, it seems like teams tried to throw the ball in the middle of the field. They went after our linebackers. They went after the slot position. So they rarely tested Mike Hughes. But when they did test Mike Hughes last year, he won most of those matchups when he was in man-to-man coverage. He didn't panic. He did a good job when he was in man-to-man of getting a lot of PBUs or pass breakups last year as well. So I like this pickup of bringing Mike Hughes back on a reasonable deal, and locking up or solidifying that number 2 cornerback position. So my assumption is, if we don't bring back D. Alford at that slot position, you possibly look to move Clark Phillips, who's been developing over the last 2 years. Maybe he goes and fills into that slot position. But you have now locked up your top 2 corners with AJ Terrell on one side and Mike Hughes on the other side, locking things down. So with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts on the Falcons picking up Leonard Floyd and us re-signing Mike Hughes. I like both of these moves by the Atlanta Falcons. I think that Terry Fontenot is doing a pretty good job of filling these positions based off of the cap that we currently have. And I've mentioned this before, this Atlanta Falcons team's bread is buttered on the offensive side of the ball. That's where majority of our talent lies, with Michael Penix and Drake London and those guys, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts. So I expect us to put up a lot of points this year, and we're going to play a bend, don't break defensive style. But I expect us to be able to force a lot of turnovers, and that's what we're going to see this year. Just off of my assumption of what I've seen so far, the moves that we've made, we're going back to the 2016 days of putting up a lot of points on offense, having a defense that creates a lot of turnovers and generate a lot of turnovers, and being fast and physical on the defensive side of the ball. So with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts. I have a lot more content coming for you guys. But as always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.